On this problem, it's asking you which equation best represents the following sequence. And instead of a list of numbers, they are giving you a set of points. And they're giving you basically just the x and the y for each of them. The x and the y. The x and the y. Now, if you notice, this is not a linear equation. So if you connect the points is going to be what we call an exponential function. Since this is not a linear equation, automatically we'll know that the answer is not A, because that will be an equation over line. But if you want to be able to try to see which is the actual equation, we can just plug in, instead of the n, we're going to plug in a 1. And if it's the correct equation, then automatically it will give us an 8. So let's go and try letter A. On letter A, I'm going to plug in a 1. So we'll have, for letter A, we are going to plug in a 1. So that'll be 2. Instead of the x, I'm going to plug in a 1. If it's correct, it should give me an 8. So that gives me 2 plus 4 will give me 6. So automatically I know that A is not the answer. Now let me try letter B. For letter B, I'm going to plug in a 1. And if it's correct, it will give me an 8. So it'll be 2, but instead of the n, I'm going to replace it with a 1. And we know that automatically that will give us a 2. So I know letter B is not an answer. Now let me try letter C. For letter C, I'm going to go through the same process. I have 4 times 2, but instead of the n, I'm going to replace it with a 1. And I'm going to simplify. Remember that you always want to do the exponents first. So that gives me 2. And we still have the 4 multiplying. And that gives me an 8. So far, that one's fine. But remember that it has to work for all of the points. So now let's go and try and plug in a 2 for the x. And it should give me a 16. So I'm going to place 4 times 2 to the power of, instead of the n, I'm going to plug in a 2. Remember to always do the exponents first, so it gives me 4. 2 to the second power will be 4, and that's going to be 16. Now, if that is the correct equation, then when I plug in a 4, it should give me a, when I plug in a 4, it should give me a 64. So let's try it. That'll be 4. Instead of the n, the exponent, I'm going to plug in a 4. Remember to simplify the exponent first. So we have 2 to the 4th power. That'll be 2 times 2 times 2 times 2. That gives me 16. And times 4, that's going to be equal to 64. So therefore, my answer will be letter C. Now, if you want to double check, if you plug in a 2 for letter D, so if you want to double check, and if you just try it, that gives you 8 multiplied by 2, and instead of that n will be a 2. That gives you 4. So it gives you 8 times 4, that is 32. That is not 16, so I know that D is not the answer. But remember that it has to work for each one of the points, not just for one. So therefore, in this case, your answer will be letter C.